The LiLoHia Project is sponsored and brought to you by drlaura.live. With her, frux.ca, Music and Play, George Canyon, Krista Hermanson, and Terry McCallum. Original art and motion graphics by Malcom Carter, Chronos Global Media.
Another episode of the LiLoHia informative series today with our beautiful souls, Sass Jordan and Gerald Auger. And today we're going to talk about the importance of grounding. And grounding is absolutely critical in our spiritual journeys and in being our best selves as human beings. So we're going to start with the question of what is grounding to each of you? What does that mean?
I was going to say, it's interesting you said like it's important in our spiritual journey. I think it's important, period, across the board. You don't even have to bring the spiritual into it, because our world and our society is so in our Western world, let's say, we're so in our heads all the time. It's always thinking, rushing, always in the future or bringing in the past, never in the present. You know, this is what Eckhart Tolle talks about, to speak of somebody that we would know probably anyway. So the grounding means to come back into your body, because after all, that is what you are using to navigate in this reality that you're in. And so the second you're constantly out of it, you'll find you get into accidents, you can't have a proper conversation. You know, it's just, these are the kinds of things people are finding that they're having a lot of in this day and age, especially now. You know, this is part of that whole thing. So, of course, for spirituality, it's an enormously big thing too. How do you go about grounding? Well, there are quite a few different ways to do it. There's one that my brother told me about once. Put your feet in water. That was fascinating. I love that one. Anyways, there's many ways. But what do you have to say about it? Like, would you?
For me, grounding is grounding the mind, the body, and the spirit. Because when we live in our heads too much, we lose focus, we become distracted, we can't see if we're coming or going. So for me, when I ground, the 6 years I spent in the wilderness, I go back to the time I would fast and sit on the land, no food, no water. I would take myself back to that time. If life is going like this, or if white noise was going too fast around me, then I would go emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually back to that time to reground my body, to ground my spirit and my mind, because the mind is a powerful thing. And if you don't understand, if it's not connected, if your mind is not connected from your mind to your heart, then how can you understand what grounding is if you're not there yet, right? So for me, and that's why grounding is so important. Like, yes, when we did that episode with our brother George, and he said grounding, and he had that aha moment, and then that came down. It was like, that's when I said, wow. For me, that was a powerful time, because spirit made its presence known. But because I understand where I'm at on my spiritual journey, that was an affirmation. And those affirmations ground me as well, because grounding it comes in so many different forms, different shapes, and how people interpret it. But for me, grounding is when I need to listen to the silence, when the world is going crazy around me or spinning out of control. I have to ground myself so I don't get sucked into the energy, sucked into the chaos, the confusion, the mayhem that's happening around me. Because if I do, then I can't help my fellow human being understand what that is, right? So So yeah, grounding definitely. And like I told my sister, when you can ground yourself in water, then you're making that connection to that element, because we're all born into water as we come into this world, right, in the womb of our mothers. And that's why water is life, right? So yeah.
And we're mostly water.
That's right, 61% water. Mother Earth is 71% underwater. And that's what the world doesn't understand. For me, the 6 years made me understand that we are the earth, the wind, the water, the fire. The air that we breathe is the wind of Mother Earth. The fire, that spark that's in the heart is from Father Sun. The same DNA that's in that tree is the same DNA in our bones. And we are made of the element of water, which is why we are the elements, the earth. So, yeah.
And I find that as a society, we don't spend enough time in nature.
Absolutely.
I agree with you on the water for sure, but I also think trees
Absolutely.
and foliage
Absolutely.
are so important.
It's whatever you resonate with too, right? But you're absolutely right. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing.
When you really look at it as well, is like we're in they call it a concrete jungle for a reason.
Yes.
Because what sits between Mother Earth and us as human beings is that concrete disconnects us from being grounding on Mother Earth, right? So that's why this whole energy in these cities is so chaotic, because I even had an elder who said, I heard one time, when we would build our communities, the door always would face east because the energy moves this way. But then in these cities, these doors are in all these different directions, so the energy is just going crisscross,
Oh
right?
my goodness,
So
yeah.
that's chaos. That made perfect sense to me, sister. I said, wow, that does make sense on how these cities are structured and built. The doors are facing all these different directions.
It's like
of
feng
course.
shui in the Chinese tradition.
So now how can people be grounded amongst that chaos and that confusion?
And so much time in traffic. And that was the blessing of COVID, was people weren't one person in one car driving in a metal box to a concrete building the same hours as everybody else, because that's what you need for culture and connection. Well, no, you don't need that 5 days a week. And in fact, it's taking people's time away from the time to ground, because you're driving and can you ground during a commute?
No.
Not really.
Not in the sense of being it, but you can like breathe, do the breathing stuff and
True.
bring your mind bring yourself back into the car, into your body. That's a grounding. It's coming back into the body instead of being scattered in the four directions and making no sense of anything and not being able to think straight, or and not having any dominion over your body. When you come back into your body consciously with intent, you are now able to navigate 100 times better. I mean, it just makes sense, right? So you could do it in traffic.
So it's
the breathing.
interesting when we look at that. Society has created a system that's pulled them away from grounding, because they follow a 1260 frequency, 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour, 12 months of the year. That's a clock and a calendar that we chase, that we will never catch up to, where we, as four directional, we follow the 1328, which is real time. There's a full moon every 13 times a year, every 28 days. And that's where I can find that I live that balance, the 1260 and the 1328, because that's why the world is living in chaos, and there's confusion, mayhem, because people are chasing artificial time that you will never catch up to. But when you can live in the moment and breathe and center yourself, you're connecting to creation, you're connecting to your soul, your spirit, your mind, your body. And that's, yeah, it's interesting.
So true. And this came up, we did a spiritual healing circle last night, and it was really powerful. And one of the topics that came up was we're all on this highway, this really fast-paced highway. And I can totally relate to that going. A therapist told me this once too. You're going so fast down the highway that if you're going so fast and something happens, you crash hard. It's just, there's
She was
no...
saying there was like the signs. So go to school, get a job, get married, it's like you're passing these signs along the way. You're missing all the scenery in between it, and it's like you're heading at a million miles an hour down this highway that's been created by something or someone else for you, right? And it's like, well, where's life in all of this? It's just a constant box ticking. What the heck is, and then where do you end up? Oh, retirement. Fun. That sounds like a riot. What am I gonna do? Sit there and I have to deal with me. Who the hell am I? I've missed the whole thing. Get me a drink.
And that identity crisis is a real thing.
Yeah.
That identity crisis, when you go to having your identity completely intertwined in what you do, not who you are, and then you go to retirement, it's actually psychologically
horrific,
really difficult. We've seen so many clients go through that transition. You need to be thinking about retirement not as an all or nothing, but as a stage of your career. Like,
yes,
you need meaning, fulfillment, purpose.
And now you're going to go on to do something else.
Golf, and that's it. No. Gardening, no. Like all.
Well, if you want to.
Golf is beautiful, gardening's beautiful, but that can't be your only identity.
No, well, it shouldn't be your identity at all, right? I think, but the thing with it is whatever makes you happy. If you want to golf all day long, go for it. But if you feel like you've been discarded by society because now you no longer have anything to offer, or like according to the way it always has been, well, not always, but you know what I mean. So it's like you have to think about that right now. How do you see yourself in 10 years? Where are you gonna, are you still going to be doing this kind of stuff? Does that appeal to you? Is there something else that interests you? Why don't you go for that? And besides the fact, once you get to that retirement age, which I'm long past, I will tell you. And P.S., I'm never retiring. I'm just going to die. Thank you. That's all I don't care. I'll never retire. What a boring idea. It's like being on a damn cruise for the rest of your life. I don't think so. It's so dull. You got to do something. What makes you want to live? You have to bring life into yourself. And you can only do that by doing things that you love. Maybe that's what your retirement could give you. Now you have the means, the money, hopefully, that now you can actually, do that butterfly collection or do that stuff that interests you, that gives you life, right?
Passions, adventures, purpose, giving back to society in some way and helping others.
If you want to, and if you don't worry about it. I'm really big on that. I don't think helping others isn't it's like we were saying last night, helping others, you can't help others unless you help you. So that's where you start. And by helping you automatically help others because you're happier.
Yeah,
right?
And helping others can look in different ways. Like you might focus on your art in retirement or something. And the art, it helps bring joy to others.
That's
indirectly. It's not all of us have to be like mentors and counselors and coaches. There's different way to help. I'd say your music, Sass, has helped a lot of
helped me.
People. It's helped you, but it's helped well,
a million have said that,
or
which is
whatever, right? Millions.
Awesome.
It helps, ground them. It helps give them messages. It helps inspire them.
Awesome.
Right?
Well, that was accidental. Just kidding. But honestly, I can't. You can't control it. I love that. I love that idea, and it does make me very happy when people say, this song that you wrote helped me through this horrible stage in my life, because that is why I started doing it originally. Music was that other people's music helped me get through the feeling of being completely alone as a kid. Right? I felt totally alone. Wow. I was the only one who ever felt this. I had no one else has ever felt this way. I'm the only one. You know how adolescence, always a fabulous part of life. And listen, if you can survive adolescence, you can survive the second one, which comes at retirement. But anyways, so that's how, and I was like, how can I do it? I love singing. Well, I think I'm going to sing. I think I'm going to do what made me feel better, and hopefully it'll do it for other people. And along the way, I discovered that it's really still all about me, what makes me feel good. The frequency of the sound of the voice is going to reflect the state that you're at in yourself. So if you feel any kind of joy or what have you when you're singing, that will translate to other people's energetic state. You know?
I love that.
That's beautiful. It's like putting your oxygen on first. And then
It's
helping
exactly that. It's exactly
And then
that.
you can help others. But if you're trying to help everyone with their masks, you're actually going to
Kill yourself.
asphyxiate.
Yeah, you're going to kill yourself.
So I'm curious because both of you have gone through phases in your life where you've been ungrounded, right? So what does, for our
No.
listeners and viewers, what does being ungrounded look like for each of you so that some people can relate? Because I mean, I can certainly relate. So
Yeah, for me, being ungrounded, when I was ungrounded, I was living a lie. Living a lie, I wasn't living my truth. I was living society's truth. I was being that next big gig, that next big thing, working towards that. I had no sense of who I was. I was trying to become who society expected me to be as an actor, as a producer, what I was doing, and that. So because if I had been grounded like I am now, I know exactly. And me and my sister were talking about this morning as we were driving that, you know, I am in a point in my life now where I know what the good, the bad, and the ugly looks like, and who the people, places, and things are in my life. And I am very mindful. I don't allow other people's drama from their trauma into my life, into the world, personally and professionally, because I want to remain grounded. Because if I get sucked into somebody else's unhealthiness, it pulls me away from being grounded. And I'm at a stage in my life right now. It's just like life is getting shorter every day. So it's how am I going to live this? So yeah, so being ungrounded is being when you have no sense of yourself. That's why the world is where it is right now. It's chaotic because people, after COVID and after everything else that's happening in the world, people are realizing I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm to do. I don't know what my purpose is because they're not grounded. They bought into the fear. They bought into what's going on in the world, and they're like fish out of water. Because now, in order to be ungrounded, what is it going to take for them to be grounded? Is spirituality. That's what LiLoHia, part of it is, for me, is making the people understand. If you want to stay grounded and understand your purpose, what the world has forgotten in this world is the spiritual component of life. And the spiritual component of life brings the grounding, the understanding, the sense of the power of intent and everything else, right?
beautifully said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That really resonates. What about you, Sass?
So the question was, how have I been ungrounded?
Yeah. What did it feel like to be ungrounded? What did it feel like
Oh my God,
inside
it's
of you?
Yeah, it happens to me even, now. What happens is you just get sucked into something that's going on. Let's say, you're happy, and then somebody goes, did you do this? Did you, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't do that. And off you go into some crazy, you go off down the garden path. And what happens is you become unaware of where you are and your actual emotional state. You completely lose any kind of conscious awareness. Grounding has an enormous amount to do with being consciously aware in the moment of what's around you, what's going on, what people are actually listening to what somebody's saying, which is really challenging for most of us. Because usually you're just listening to them. Are they done yet? Can I talk now? Okay, can I talk now? Oh, no, they're still going. I can see their mouth flapping. I got it. Okay, wait. Okay, they're done. Okay, now I'm going to say it. What do I? And then off you go, and they're just waiting for you to shut up. It's like amazing. Nobody's listening to anybody. Yeah. So the other thing is I find that when you are constantly scattered, your energy is scattered everywhere, not being grounded in your body makes you very vulnerable to being sick. you get sick. And it's like the body's saying, oh, really? You're going to go all over the place? You're going to go lose your mind, you know, like this? Okay, I'm going to make you sick. I'm going to give you the worst cold you've ever had. Boom, stops you in your tracks. You have to sit there. You know, get through it in the most elegant way possible. But that is the universe talking to you through your body, saying, stop, slow down, pay attention, focus, come into this moment. Pain brings you into the moment, doesn't it? I mean, you can't think about anything else when something hurts. So pain does have a purpose, and it's highly unpleasant, but it forces you to pay attention, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's why some people who have gotten diseases, they say the disease was a gift because it made them ground and realize what was important in life, and hopefully they heal from it. You know, not always the case, but when they do, they almost have a new lease on life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny when you look at it, when I look at life now, and there's one thing that the reason why the world is not grounded and why they're not listening to each other when we talk is it's called a cell phone. People are on their phone, and because and it was supposed to be created to communicate, to bring closeness, to make communication. It's actually discommunicated. It's created a miscommunication with the world, because people are on their phone, they're living on their phone, and that's why they're just like, they don't see what's coming or going. Today, with all these accidents that are happening this morning, he says, wow, there's a shift happening. That's why that chaos is being taken up another notch. And that's
it's a disconnect.
It's a disconnect.
I think the word is they're disconnected from the moment, from the conversation. It's so sad when you see people at a restaurant, you know, across the table, and they're both on their
And we all do it.
We all do it,
Every
right?
single one of us, it's impossible not to.
It's like, it needs to be put to bed. They should make like these little sleeping bags for phones and just get to
Faraday cases, stop all the radiation coming off of them too. Wouldn't that be cool? We've got an idea.
A LiLoHia case on
Yeah.
That could be part of your
It's a virtual reality. It's like we're living half in what appears to be a reality, and then half or more of the time in a virtual reality. You know, you're so focused on this virtual reality that you're not even noticing the real.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can call it a real reality, because I think that's like two words that mean the same thing, canceling each other out. However, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And also not to forget about the fact that, you know, the EMFs from this stuff is like frying us from the inside out.
Oh my God.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think younger people came in more adapted to that kind of, these kind of frequencies and energies that are going through the air constantly. We can't see them, but you know they're happening. You know, it's insane. That's also very, that has a lot to do with ungrounding us. I'm glad you brought up the phone thing, guys. It isn't very grounding, is it? Because you're not present again. You're off in another.
I know. I see myself when I grab my phone and I'm out. I'm consciously, oh, Gerald, you're being that guy.
Yeah.
So I put it away because.
Me too.
Yeah. So
No,
I
I'm
make
guilty.
sure I don't want to be that guy.
And Sass, before we had our healing circle last night, I was just vibrating with, because, you know, ran home.
Oh, you were doing a
dinner,
lot, though,
kids,
yeah.
And you said, you're an energizer bunny, Laura. And I say, yeah, but it also is harmful, I think, to me to be at that energy.
Yeah.
And not breathe, because then I breathe shallow and I have a lot of tension in my throat.
Oh, I got all kinds of stuff for that.
Good, because I need it.
Yeah. You know what we should do is we'll talk about that later, because there's too much of that. But what we can do is we can put in the show notes any suggestions. If people are interested in this kind of thing, we can just put some suggestions of resources that we have used and that you know we found helpful. I mean, there's a million, billion ways, but there's some that I actually know that I've used, so I'll share those, and we can just put them in the show notes.
Beautiful. So with that said, concluding this episode on grounding. We covered a lot of ground.
Okay, cheese ball. We're cheese balls.
So grounding, what it feels like to be grounded, what it feels like to be ungrounded, and then methods to become grounded, like nature, water, breathing. We're going to have a whole episode on breathing.
Sound.
Sound.
All of it together.
Yeah.
And ditching your cell phone, giving it a break. It
Yeah.
needs to go to bed sometimes. It needs naps.
True.
I agree,
So-
but I'm just as guilty as everybody else.
We're all guilty, but we're, honest guilt.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone for being
Yeah.
here for this episode of LiLoHia, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. If you think your friends and family can benefit, please share it. We want to get this out widely into the world. Thank you. Namaste.
No matter what we lost, we make it right. I feel a change is coming. Let's see what love can be. It's gonna be all or nothing. Just believe till you see.
To subscribe to the LiLoHia Project and receive upcoming episodes, updates, and announcements, go to www.youtube.com/@LiLoHia Project. You can also find the LiLoHia Project on Twitter @LiLoHia Project, TikTok @LiLoHia Project, and Instagram @LiLoHia Project. Thank you for listening. Hi.